So welcome to the Solarchat November meeting, and thank you everybody for signing in and for being part of this forum. I think it's the best forum out there. I was just going to briefly go over our fundraiser that we had in October. Thank you everyone here for your support. And it's a funny thing, in the US, we are required to raise 1/3 of our annual budget. You know, I run a nonprofit. It's called the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. Most of you already know this, but we are required by law to raise, at least 2/3 of our annual revenue from the public, to demonstrate that there's an interest in the nonprofit and what we do. So Natalie and I put in all that we can legally and support it with my military retirement. And the rest of it has to come from the public. So that's why I have to do these things. And I would rather pull out my toenails than do fundraisers, because it's not fun. But I do appreciate everybody understanding that. And the money goes to pay for the forum, but also, to be honest, more than half of it that you guys donate goes to support the nonprofit. And we send telescopes and glasses and stuff around the world and do all these different things on the internet and provide a good environment for people to learn solar astronomy. And with the new Solar Maximum coming up, I think it's going to be super, super popular again, because there's probably 200 times as many people out there doing this hobby as there was when we all started back, 15 years ago, when there was maybe 10 people doing it. There's at least 10,000 people doing it now. So I'm real happy with that. And we had a part in doing that. So we had, again, it's funny because the whole program is supported by about 225 people every year. Every fundraiser, it's the same people, and I'm really grateful. But it's just strange that it never kind of broke out of that small number. But it's enough to run things, and we sponsor somebody, at least one person, maybe two people every time we do a fundraiser. And this time we had a woman down in Southeast Georgia with some camera gear for her nature photography. So you guys are making a difference with your donations, and I appreciate it. We did actually meet the goal. This has been the slowest fundraiser we ever did, but we ended up meeting the goal. And there's a guy in Germany who used to be in the UK who saves us every year, and I wish I could tell you his name and you could thank him, but he's super anonymous. We have a lot of people that want to completely stay anonymous, but this guy also sent over an astrophysics refractor one time. He waited 6 years in line to get this scope, and he just called me one day and said, "I'm going to send it to you." And it's just unbelievable generosity. And it's just a weird thing running a nonprofit. I do not recommend it for anyone else. If you're thinking of starting your own, I do not recommend running a nonprofit. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone here. And I think Alexandra, who is the heartbeat of our organization on Solarchat, she pretty much runs everything and makes all the decisions. And she won the best solar astronomer in the astrophotography of the year contest in 2014. Let us not forget that.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I flew all the way over there. I was thinking, man, I'm going to win this easy. I'm the man. And I got over there and got shellacked by Alexandra. She just beat me to death. But I was glad to see it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Alexandra, and I think you had a couple of topics to talk about. And thanks again for tuning in. And I really, really, really appreciate all the financial and just support in general from you guys on our forum, because I think it's a really kick-ass forum.
Stephen, I'll be sending a belated donation. I was preoccupied with multiple things here and missed the deadline, but I will get something out to you here in the next couple of days.
Thank you, Brian. You can always wait till the next time, man. You've been a supporter for over a decade. So
if I wait till the next one and I miss it, then it looks really bad.
It's all right.
I've got some funds I can advance.
Thank you very much.
So I had one question. I don't know whether anybody else had any questions, before we start, but my question was about this pro-am. I know that Stuart, you've done some work on it, and I know that Laura was saying that she would come on and say, a bit about it, but she doesn't seem to be, coming on to the meeting. So unless she turns up, I don't think she will be, contributing. So I don't know whether, Stuart, you could tell us it, because it seems very complicated to me when I've read it. And I think Raina was struggling with it as well.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very well structured, shall we say. But you go onto the website link and find the appropriate link to register, if you like, and then you basically submit a text file to say you're interested, and give your contact details, email. I'm getting some feedback. Anyway, so you submit your email address and say something about your equipment, scopes, and whether it's hydrogen alpha, calcium K, or whatever, and that sort of thing. And then you receive an email, and you receive a link to their sort of chat room, and then you can start to submit images via that same link, and they want various formats and so on, but that's all explained in the description. So once you get into it, it's fairly straightforward, and basically it's sort of like a mini solar chat, people exchanging images and thoughts and that sort of thing on the specific targets that these guys are interested in. So at the moment, I think the first round is finished. So we're not required to submit anything further at this stage, but a couple of weeks ago, so we were asked to look at specific features on the sun and send those images in particular formats, so they can cross correlate with their data from the orbiter. I don't know if any of that helps.
Are they just looking for static images, or are they looking for animations?
Well, some people have submitted animations, but just static images, basically, so they can cross correlate the static images with data that they're getting from the solar orbiter. So
are these professionals, and they're asking for amateur photography from Earth on the same object that they're looking at? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's right. So they prefer FITS format, but TIFF and even JPEGs are perfectly fine. But as I say, the first round's now finished. There were a few interesting features, certain active regions that they wanted us to particularly focus on, but they've now rotated off the disk. And I think the time slot that they had available to them on this particular instrument, I think that time slot's now passed. So they may get another time slot anytime soon. I've really got no idea, but that's sort of the general gist of how this works.
Ah, right, I see. So it's not like that they're looking for all, like every active region that comes round and gathering information. It is only when they've got time on this instrument. Correct, yeah. Ah, right, I see. Yeah. And do you get any feedback, any results back from what they found? Not yet. So maybe that's something that's going to happen. But so far, nothing. Just a thank you for submitting data, submitting images, and they're going to review them. So I'm guessing they're going to cross correlate, their data with our images, and at some point we might get some sort of feedback, some sort of report or whatever. But again, that's a little bit muddled. It's not really that clear what's happening there. Yeah, because it looked quite complicated when I went on the website and went, what? Yeah. Yeah, it is a little bit. But once you sort of register and get the email from the team, it becomes a little bit clearer.
But it is. I think Rainer was having a few problems at the start. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pity that they have picked sort of like this time of the year as well.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like Australia, it's really, really hard to take images at this time of the year.
Yeah, everybody's saying the same. Yeah, of course you get our French friends submitting superb hydrogen alpha images.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they have better weather than us. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're on top of a mountain somewhere or whatever. Yeah.
You know,
So-
Didier, I'm massacring his name, but Didier Favre is a guy who is involved in that program, and he's on Facebook. And I've asked him a couple times to come on and show, because they use a spectral heliograph, as far as I know, for the Sol X program, whatever that is.
Mhm.
And he is one of the guys that does it, and the images he puts out are really fantastic, and they have a real fluffiness to them. And I asked him to come on a couple times to show us what he was doing, and he said he would, but he never did.
Oh, that would be really good if you would.
Yeah, he's on the Facebook group for Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, and he posts his pictures there every day, and they're really nice. So,
Wow.
but you know, I don't know, maybe he changes his mind. He's too important or something. I don't know. But we'll see. But I had never even heard of this program until you brought it up, and then I did some research, and you know, Christian Buell is part of it, or he's organizing it. And there's a guy on our forum, the guy that wrote the Villadric.
Okay.
Yeah, he's also part of it. And I'm not sure what they're looking for, but I'd be happy to oblige. I definitely have the AM part down of the pro-am, and would like to do that.
Well, yeah, I'd certainly like to take part, but at the moment, you know, getting to see the sun is really hard. I'm in the stairs bedroom window again now because it's too low. It's the sun, so I can only get images from the PST. So I don't know whether they're looking for full disk images or whether they're looking for like really high resolution, like images like what Christian takes and things like that, which I'm never going to get in the winter.
So it could be either or both, so hydrogen alpha, calcium K, white light, full disk or close views, but only of those specific regions which have now passed. So I guess, if they're happy with the sort of results that they've received, then maybe there'll be a second round or whatever, who knows. We'll just have to wait and see. So I guess they're going to take a few months to review and analyze what they've already got.
And this is in collaboration with the ESA Solar Orbiter, if I understand correctly.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Because there's a forum on Solarchat about it's got all the details here. But yeah, it said it went on from October 16th for 10 days, and it's now over with for now. But they'll do another one.
Yeah.
But it's certainly interesting that finally, the professionals are interested in the amateur astronomers' data, which is good. And so I think it's, an important thing for us to do. I just didn't know how many people at Solarchat were actually doing it or are interested in it.
Yeah. Well, what I learned from the professionals when I was on the lecture circuit and talking with these guys and I would do lectures either before or after, a big important solar astronomer or something, is that most of them don't own a solar telescope, and most of them have never looked through a solar telescope. They don't really have any idea what we're doing. They're using spectroscopes and interferometers and doing mathematics. They're not getting these photos that we get, and so that's like, well, maybe I shouldn't mention any names, but the people that make these telescopes, at least two of the companies that make them, the people that make them don't own one. They've never looked through one and couldn't care less. That they don't even know what they do. So that was always interesting to me. So
I was a little curious as to, did they give any reason of why they picked the particular region that they wanted to focus on?
I think it was just something that came into view. So they obviously have stereo A and B looking at the sun, so they can see what's round the bend, as it were. And just a few days ahead of time, they sort of picked out a region which they thought might develop into
Oops.
a nice active region. Yeah, and then said when it comes around the bend, you can take a look at this for us, which we did. And the first region turned out to be a bit of a damp squib. It sort of fizzled a bit. And then a second region came around, which looked a bit more interesting. So they said, "Oh well, switch focus and go on this one." I think it was AR 3135 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number now, but yeah, that looked a bit more interesting. A few more fireworks on that one, so that was a bit better. But then they lost.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, then they ran out of time, so they said, that's it. Don't bother sending any more images now because we can't do anything further.
This is that guy Didier.
Yeah, Didier.
Yeah.
Didier Favre, and his
Yeah.
images are just beautiful. I think they're really, really nice.
Mm.
Wow.
Who's the other? There's somebody else that's posted posts with those types of images that were amazing. They're just on recent one, like the Stevens or something like
On
that.
Solarchat or on Facebook?
No, on chat.
Is that Douglas
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Smith's?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do some. I have that equipment here, but I've just never figured out how to do those. They do some kind of scans, and
Yeah, it looks a bit complicated.
yeah, but the image is so fluffy looking, and it's
Mm.
perfectly uniform in brightness also
Yeah.
Mm.
all the time. And I think that's really cool. And you can do prominences apparently with it also.
Yes, you can also get all of the different
Yeah, whatever wavelength you want.
yeah, like the
any
hydrogen
wavelength.
beta, the magnesium, the
Mhm.
all sorts. It's really quite amazing. And I
Those-
think they've really made great inroads, like on the actual software, to get the actual scans,
Yeah.
put together. And that's, like an incredible, headway that they've been making.
Yeah, and there's a guy here in the States named Tom Field that writes software that's called RSpec, and that does some of these things, but it's mostly for deep sky stuff, but it's also PC only, so you can't use it on my gear. I was trying. There was another really big prominence on the Charlie Bates site, really gigantic prominence, like way out of there in the last 10 days, and I was out there imaging when they said they took it, but I didn't see it. I'm trying to find that picture on here. I'm hogging the screen. I know. Hold on.
Oh, it's nice pictures of the sun.
Yeah. The Facebook page is really pretty busy also, but I know that not everybody wants to be on Facebook. In fact, I don't want to be on Facebook either, but amazingly, that's where the vast majority of our financial support comes from. It's from people I've never met, never talked to, have no idea what solar astronomy is, but they just support the program.
That's
That's
lovely.
where 80% of our funding comes from, the Facebook fundraiser. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing the screen. Sorry about all this. I'm looking for it.
Getting back to that spectrohelioscope, it took quite a bit of processing, as I understand, to get a one smooth disk image. Is that correct?
I've never done it. I don't know. That's why I wanted him to come on and show us what he was doing, because I think it would be pretty cool. Oh, there it is over there. Hold on. Stop share. Okay, good. And the Aurora background, Alexandra was asking about when the meeting first started. I had on a polar jacket and a hood, and I told her I was in Norway doing a live broadcast for us. But this is actually just one of the backgrounds that's available in the newest version of Zoom.
Cool.
So,
Alexandra, were you out imaging today?
I was in the upstairs bedroom window, yes. Not technically outside, but inside with the window wide open.
How was you seeing? Because it was absolutely dreadful here.
absolutely dire. But then I kind of worked that out because if you looked at the jet stream, we had the jet stream right over us. It was like red. So that's why I thought there's no point getting anything other than the PST out. And even that was struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
nothing to say.
Yeah,
Well-
Stuart, that was one ugly video. I was like, well, I'm shutting down now.
Oh, why did you take a video?
Oh yeah, I posted it. It's like you'd go, well, no, turn it off.
But there's better seeing than that? I've got to find it.
Yeah, I'm looking over the.
One of the Quantel special effects that they used to have with the wavy lines on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. It was awful. I couldn't get anything to focus properly.
Yeah,
I
same
mean,
yesterday. It was terrible.
Yeah, horrible.
Well,
I know it was a shame because it was a lovely day. You know, one of the best days we've had for ages, and it was really warm too. You know,
Mm.
almost like spring weather, and it just looks so fabulous. But the one I thought, I was a bit suspicious this morning. Looked on, you know, like the jet stream, and then saw that the jet stream was right over us, and I thought, this is not going to work.
No.
Yeah, what surprised me was how consistent the noise. I mean, you know, usually you see it bubble like that for a bit and then stop. I mean, it was like constant on there.
Well, it is looping, Warren. So it's just
Okay. Wow. So you cut out the good parts.
Good one.
Yeah, that's so I took the SCR file and converted it to GIF.
Right.
GIF and took 100 frames and just looped. You know, so yeah, it's not as you say consistent.
It went an hour long.
Yeah, but it was so bad. I thought I've got to share this with people just to show how bad it is. I couldn't get anything. Hydrogen alpha, calcium K at any resolution. It was just awful.
Well, yeah, with the PST, that's only 40 millimeters. That was really struggling. Constant, you know, it was constant, you know, like shimmering all the time, you know, like with that, you know, when you look at the limb and you see like that shimmering all around, and it was just constant. There was no, usually, like you say, you get that terrible wavery bit, and then it'll like calm a little bit, and then it'll go wavery a bit.
Yeah.
Just constant, and you know, it was just.
So what do you have to do, Alexandra, to make the PST suitable for imaging? Because I never saw the setup of the PST for imaging.
Well, at the moment, I used to really like using, you know, like the imaging source DMK41, and that worked, you know, perfectly with the PST. You know, when you have a very, very short nose cone, it would fit directly in, and you get a beautiful full disc in the field of view, and it was perfectly, you know, like the pixel size was just right for it. But I've never been able to get my DMK41 to work since I changed to Windows 10. And it just won't work. I just can't get it to ever function again. So I changed like to the ASI 174, but the pixel size is very, very large. So when you actually put it on, like the sun is about that big in a great big field of view, and it's just rubbish. So what I use is a 2x Barlow in there, and then the ASI, and then what it does is it fills up 3/4 of the screen. So I have to just take 2 images and then put them together in Photoshop.
So it's first the camera, then the 2x Barlow, then into the PST.
Yeah.
And then it feels part of the screen, but not all of it.
I image it with my PST all the time in Atlanta on our nature hikes, and you can also just use any of your cameras with a 0.5x focal reducer. It depends. It won't work at the distance that the focal reducer is made to be from the camera, but if you shorten the snout and put it a lot closer to the camera, you can get a full disc image
Hmm.
out of it. So I have a
Alright, I've
couple
never
of
tried that.
I have a couple of snouts that I've sawed off with a hacksaw to make them shorter. Sean's actually got one I gave him, I think. Sean,
I gotta
you're
go
mute.
find mine. It's a superb job.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you were muted there, Sean.
I was going to say, but it sounds like you have the opposite issue, Stephen. You're trying to reduce the focal length, whereas I think Alexandra, when she goes from 1x to 2x, is kind of going from too small
Increasing, yeah.
to too big. But I was going to say, a Barlow isn't a fixed multiplier. It's distance relative to the chip, like a
Right.
focal reducer would vary.
Right.
You know, the 2x,
Right.
the number x. So what you could do, and you can get these little, they're like almost like a filter. You can screw them onto the end of the nose piece, and they might give you something less than 2x. Like I have one at the end of my William Optics Binaview. It's a 1.6x.
No, that's a good idea. Use the filter as an additional spacer.
Yeah, or just instead of buying a Barlow, your typical Barlow has a length, say, of maybe that length. You can actually get ones that are just that thread on to the nose piece directly.
Well, you know, the C-Max Barlows that come with the Coronado telescopes, the Barlow element screws off the bottom of it, and you can screw that directly onto the camera snout also and get some interesting effects.
Experiments
Yeah,
on
'cause
that front might help to just get it, because by the sounds of it, you're looking for the perfect one shot kind of image. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
Vader-
also very difficult because with the PST, you have to you run out of focus if the camera chip isn't close enough in the eyepiece. You can't then achieve focus. It's like really hard work with the PST because if your nose piece is too long, you'll never get it in far enough to be able to. It's like I bought from Mark his point grey chameleon, and that has got the perfect pixel size and like size for the PST, and it's absolutely fabulous, and when you put it on it is really incredible, but it's got the most awful and dire Newton's rings. And so it just makes it impossible to image with it because it's just so bad. So I thought, oh, maybe I could put, like the tilter on, but that makes the distance too far, so you can't focus in. So it just it's just redundant. I just can't. It's real pity because it would have been perfect. So I've,
is there any other solution yet aside from, I think Daystar have the tilting mechanism, which is quite expensive if I recall. Has anyone else come up with any other unit to get rid of those rings?
It would have to be very, very short and very small because if it sticks out, you just the focus on the PST.
The Vader makes a Barlow, I think they call it a Q Barlow. It has the lens threads off the end of the tube that it fits. And so it'll give you about 1.3 times. And I use that quite often with the C14 for planetary and with the solar stuff. And usually a Barlow, you need a bit of out focus to reach focus compared to non-magnified. So that might have a bit more forgiveness. That Barlow's not overly expensive. The other thing you could try if you need a little bit of tilt would be to thread the nose piece off a little bit and fit something in, so when you tighten it up, it just puts a little bit of a kink on it, so that the camera and the nose piece they're not perfectly 90 degrees. You can just induce a bit of an angle. Might not be enough to get rid of the Newton rings, because the amount of tilt you could put on with the the Daystar tilt is just mind-boggling that it even focuses. But that's what I've used on the full disc work. I just flat them out on the other scope because I've got insufficient focus travel with the homemade double stack that I have with the Edelons.
Good point. Actually, and because especially if you have a plastic type or nylon, say, nose piece, the threads will be easily, it's not like metal. The threads will be a bit more malleable, and you could maybe, I'm wondering, is there a market for like if someone had a 3D printer that they could actually print off a bunch or maybe a couple of dozen of these, nose pieces with for the tread on is deliberately skewed in some way. You
Yeah,
know.
that would be a really good idea.
So I made a bent or kinked nose piece. Took a standard nose piece, cut a slot pretty much all the way through it, apart from a little bit, and then sort of bent it so that the slot then closed up, and then filled the remaining bit of slot with adhesive, and then painted it, and so that completely got rid of Newton's rings on my little Basler camera. So it is possible to do these sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
There's
quite
an
a,
example of that Q Barlow with the, it's 2 1/4 power when it's all assembled, but you can thread the lens out and screw it into the 1 1/4 thread on any other adapter. And if you want a little bit more power, you just put a bit of an extension on with another piece of thread.
That's pretty cheap too.
I found it works not bad, and it's not horrendously expensive either.
for Beta, that's extremely cheap. They're normally much more
Yeah,
expensive.
$45.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah, 45. Now the
Incorrectly
other
labeled
thing
or
I
something.
did was I took an 1 1/4 eyepiece cell and took the filter out of it, and then I dismantled a 2 times Barlow, took the lens out, and dropped it into the filter cell, and put the retainer ring back in to hold the lens. And it basically did the same thing as what this Beta one does. So if you've got a quote unquote spare Barlow, you can disassemble it and make your own housing. And if it's not enough magnification, get a extension tube. You can buy them fairly readily, and just put it out another, 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters. Every time you extend it, it'll bump the effective magnification up. The only issue I have with mine is the lens is not a great quality one, and the edges are not great. But so long as I only use it on the full disc, the sun's off the edges of the field anyway, so it seems to survive. But I like this Beta one. I've been using it more lately because it's just more secure.
And Beta are normally synonymous with good quality. So
Yes.
I'm really surprised at that price. I'm surprised there's any glass in for that price from Beta. To be honest. Yeah.
It's just a hollow tube.
Yeah. A 1X Barlow.
1X model.
So when is the solar maximum supposed to be?
2024.
24?
But experience tells me that it's 18 months on either side of that date. So I would say we're 1/3 to 1/2 up the curve now to solar maximum, because activity has been moderate. I think we'd all agree. But I would, if you take January 1st, 2024 and go 18 months either side of that, I think that's when you should expect it. So springtime coming up, spring, early summer, we should be seeing a lot of good stuff. And, last time around when I first started doing this in 2005, I guess 4, the tiniest prominence, man, if it was 500 miles tall, I was out there totally freaking out, and getting out my DSLR and shoving it into my PST, trying to get an image. And it was a lot of fun. And we were imaging, all of us, we remember imaging like the tiniest little modeling of the surface in H alpha, thinking, oh my God, and it was fascinating. It was fantastic, man. And it really taught us all to be excellent imagers before there was anything to image. And and I'd really like to get that excitement going again, because it was, I tell you, watching during the last Solar Maximum, I was at an event called the Peach State Stargaze, and we saw 3 X-class flares that day, and they were very long duration. They were 40-45 minutes. And I was set up in a field in South Georgia watching these X-class flares with these bunch of old fat white guys. And they couldn't care less, man. They were all inside listening to a lecture on a variable stars or something. And I'm out here with my telescopes by myself in a field, and there's these gigantic X flares. And I really can't wait to see all that.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see an X class.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was all afternoon. There was 3 of them, and they usually it's about an 8-minute, 10-minute thing, but these things lasted for over an hour, all of them. So it was just me and some guy's wife and some little kid out there having a good time watching. But yeah, so I would say within 6 months we should be in maximum.
And then usually, like last time, there seemed to be like 2 maximums, I thought.
Yeah.
There's sort of like one sort of like maximum and then one. So if they say it's going to be 2024, I reckon you'll get another bit of a maximum about 2026, I think.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, it seemed to be like a double peak.
I'm gonna see if I can find that movie for you. That was a really, really fantastic thing to watch.
That double peak also is not associated with the fact that the activity north of the solar equator and south of the solar equator are not synchronized.
Yeah.
And I still see more activity, in my opinion, to the northern side of the equator. So as the months come on, I would hope it'll even up and you'll get both sides of the equator, the south side picking up to catch up, but who knows?
Yeah, that southwest quadrant was a little bit active the last 2 weeks, about 2 weeks ago. There's a lot happening on that area.
Yeah, it never seems to be on both sides. It either seems to be in the north and then it all goes quiet, and then it's in the south, and then it all goes quiet, and then it's back in the north again.
Yeah.
I like that solar crown though on the south this last week. That was
Yes.
something. That was
Beautiful.
interesting.
See if I can share this while I'll keep talking. I'm just going to share the video I took at this Peach State Stargaze. If I can figure out how to do it. Okay. Okay.
That wasn't 2014, was it, Steve?
It was, yeah.
I thought I was going to guess 2014 was nuts.
It was.
But that was supposed to be the solar maximum, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, wait a minute, why is it paused?
Well, that was that one animation I posted. That prom was half the size of the sun that ripped off of it. It was.
Are you guys seeing this video?
No.
Okay, hold on.
But yeah, I hope that we'll get some incredible things coming soon.
It's paused for some reason. Is somebody else sharing a screen currently?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, well.
It popped up and said you were, but
you had a screen up, but it was just a shot of telescopes in the field.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there
that's
you
just,
go.
that's
Okay,
just
yeah.
one
Oh,
image.
yeah.
That's just one image of that flare, and it went on for hours. If everybody can remember, let's see, and that's the sunspot group that was associated with it. But yeah, it was fantastic, man. And I'm really, look at the calcium K ripples and everything. And I had a video of it on the other thing, but my YouTube is not sharing very well. And remember back when we would color things different colors, and I feel like this was the innocence of my youth of solar imaging, and still all the old geezers in the astronomy club locally were all against it, like, oh, we don't want that newfangled stuff in here. We don't need that. Let's go talk about variable stars or something. And it was really a lot of fun. So
yeah, but we've got our own star right in front of us.
Yeah, and it's pretty variable too, if you ask me. But anyway, yeah, that's coming up. So I would say 2024. And it's funny you asked that, because I was really thinking about that a lot the other day. Because Facebook brings up memories, and they show you, not to be nostalgic on everyone, but they show you a memory from every day. And I've been getting memories from 2007 and 2008 where I had hair, and and I would have this pickup.
Me too.
Yeah, Franco had hair also. And we'd have this pickup truck that I drove around with some telescopes in the back, and I would set it up at the Starbucks, down the street. And there was no nonprofit. Charlie Bates was still alive. And it's reminded me of how much I loved the hobby. And I hope that all coincides so we can all get reinvigorated for this next solar maximum, because I can't wait to see some new people come in and show us all how to do it, and show us some different thing, because we could all use something new. because everybody on here is pretty well an excellent imager already and observer. And it would be great to just have someone come in and blow us all away with something new. Wouldn't that be fun? Except for that guy on Instagram that every time he takes a picture of the sun, he puts out how this is the most amazing high resolution image ever taken of the photo of the sun,
20,000 images put
Yeah,
together to make
20,000
one
images.
picture.
Yeah, Andrew
going,
But
McCarthy.
why?
I think his name is
And it's
Andrew.
like,
Andrew
Yeah,
it's
McCarthy.
not that
that's his name.
good.
That's him.
Yeah, and he's just stacking a solar image, man. Anybody in here was doing that 15 years ago. But he's just got the right Instagram buzz, and
It's the
people-
right words to get
the
people
right words.
interested in.
because
I just-
we're all humble. We don't go out and do that.
Yeah, I just deleted 20,000 images. So.
Yeah, I know.
I
I've
had
done
to
that
clean off
today
my
as well.
Right.
Goodbye.
And that's like the other guy, the guy in Germany that kept having the ISS transit of Saturn, and he was bragging about it. And I made the mistake of calling him out on Facebook because, the ISS was like 100 times larger than Saturn. It's just a crazy, stupid fake image. And then, I called it out and I got nothing but heat from everybody. So it's best for me just to not say anything and let someone else call it out. But yeah, so let's make sure that all that happens and that we all have fun doing it, and that maybe we get somebody else with us and show them how great it is, because it's hard to look through that telescope during solar maximum and not just go, wow, Agreed.
But
Especially if
also-
you have a bit of a appreciation of what's actually going on in the background.
Right. And they're talking about having NEAF again this year. I don't know if my wife's going to let me go, but we got invited to that Brazil event, the International Meeting of Astronomy and Aeronautics or whatever. Marcelo Salza down there, and that's one of the people we sponsor and pay for their equipment. But I'm just kind of scared to fly still. I don't know. We're going to Madrid at Christmas, and we'll see how that goes. So if I survive that flight, maybe we'll go to Brazil. But I think everything's going to start kicking a lot better here in the next year.
Hey, talking about new things, it'd be great, Alexander, if you could get Mario's to come on and do one of his sketches that he does.
Oh yeah,
I mean, some of those are just amazing.
Alexander's a
Yeah,
pretty good
his
sketcher
artwork.
herself.
Mm.
We used
Yeah,
to have a
but-
lot of sketches that were published. I used to even sketch, and they were terrible, but it was fun to do.
Well, he
It is
put-
fun to do sketching. It's very relaxing, and actually, you seem to see more detail in the sun.
Right.
Like when you do like a quick image, you tend to sort of like glance over the whole sun, don't you, and sort of like snap your image, and then that's it. I think you look a little bit more when you're doing an animation because you're actually looking at a particular region and studying it. But when you're sketching, you're sort of like seeing the changes because you sketch a little bit, go back, and then you go, oh, it doesn't look like that anymore. And you actually really look more into, like the sun, but you need to have a lot more time.
Yeah, but you also don't need to process it, and you don't
No,
need to worry about
true.
uneven illumination or
True.
what Barlow you're using or any of that nonsense.
It's live
Don't need any
processing.
flats,
No flats necessary.
no
Yeah.
flats, no tilt.
Sean, is your daughter over there with you today?
She is doing some math homework, I think.
Okay. She's a little solar imager that's coming around.
Yep.
She's a sweet thing.
Does she do any sketches?
No, she's a good artist though, but we haven't tried to do that yet.
She can do anything. She's just a
Yeah,
little
she'll try to
joy.
do that.
She makes you smile immediately. She's a wonderful kid. Takes
you.
after her dad.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have anything else for you.
Steve,
Well,
Steven,
Yes, sir.
When you were air traffic controller, did you ever see any UFOs, track any UFOs or no?
Yes, many. I
Really?
would say
Really?
I'm
Do tell.
probably in the 90 to 150 range. It was very
Wow.
common. Very common.
really?
Yeah. Unidentified flying objects were quite common. Now, whether they were aliens or not, I don't know. I would surmise, I was also in the military for some time, and I would surmise most of them were just top secret military flights. But we also had at least 50 reported UFOs from pilots in the cockpit. You know, because I was just watching a radar screen, Franco. I didn't see the
I
sky.
know, I know.
Yeah, I just saw radar. So most of the aliens, when they visit our planet, probably aren't going to have an operating transponder, and they're not going to send their altimeter to me. But I had plenty of
So-
times where
so-
pilots reported UFOs and were very serious, very experienced, you know, very serious.
So what about, I mean, if you tracked on the radar something that is unidentified, what is there a protocol or something?
There
you have
is.
to do?
Yeah, there is. We have to report it to our military liaison that's in the facility. And we record the radar data. We ask for pilots to look in the direction to see if they see anything. But without an altitude indicator, there's no telling where it might be. But then we take this information and we dispatch it to the local the local military. And if they are concerned about it, then they launch fighters to go intercept. And they did that many times right after 9/11, right after September 11th, because nothing was allowed to fly. You know, I worked that day, and for the 2 weeks after that, you were not allowed to fly. And
Right.
there were many unidentified aircraft that were still flying. And we launched fighter jets to at least 20 different places around Atlanta to intercept small aircraft. And it turned out to be normally just some hillbilly in a homemade airplane that didn't even know there was a flight restriction. You know, you can imagine flying around in your homemade glider, and then you got two F-16s come up on each side of you. But yeah, I know what you're asking though. And then there were very, very legitimate unidentified flying object eyewitness reports fairly often.
Wow.
And I didn't see any of them up close. I don't know. I'll tell you something I did see up close from the cockpit of an aircraft that I'll never forget as long as I live. And that was Comet Hale-Bopp.
Oh, wow.
I was in an airplane flying in the cockpit for training, and Comet Hale-Bopp we were at 41,000 feet, and the comet was the entire sky. I mean, you could look all the way across, and there was this gigantic, beautiful tail of a comet with the head. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was just like I was in the intro to Star Trek Voyager, where they have the comet, and you know, I'll never forget that as long as I live. That is the closest I've ever came to space, and that was
Nice.
a fantastic thing.
That's great.
So, yeah, lots of UFOs were reported. Pretty common.
Fun.
Interesting question.
Question there. We're near the end of this year, I suppose, and so we're kind of looking forward to next year. And maybe there is the annular solar eclipse on October 14th. And I'm just wondering if many people are planning to travel to see it. I'm thinking I'm heading to Albuquerque. It seems to be quite a good spot for international traveling and weather-wise and so on. I'm just wondering if anyone else is making any plans at this stage.
Yes,
Share a screen here.
I'm heading out to, I'm thinking Texas is where I want to go to see it. Trying to go to the same place
San Antonio.
for the, yeah.
Well,
San
yeah, 'cause I was going
Antonio
to
area.
ask about the 2024 one.
Yeah, I'm trying to go to the same place for relatively the same place in that little diamond.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking of flying into Dallas maybe 2024, but maybe 23 Albuquerque, and hopefully on that same trip get to see Monument Valley as well.
You will not regret that. No matter how hard it is to get there, that will be something you'll never forget.
Yeah, I've been into Vegas. I've done a bit of travel around Grand Canyon, all of that, but we didn't get as far as like to do kind of ideally like Bryce Canyon, maybe across the Monument Valley or something. That'd be great.
Right.
But
My family, if you see where the total eclipse crosses over Lake Erie up there, do you know which one's Lake Erie on the bottom? That one, right where your tip of your needle is, of your pointer, is where my father's side, he's dead, but the father's side of the family has the homes there in Marblehead, Ohio, which is on the shore of Lake Erie. And so I'm going to host a large event there.
cool.
For the total eclipse. I don't know what I'm going to do for the partial eclipse, because I can see the partial from my house, but I won't be able to see annular, obviously.
Yeah,
So, you know, Robert Reeves lives in San Antonio. Robert Reeves is a big lunar astronomer. He's a real friendly and nice guy. He'll probably put you up if you ask him.
Yeah, if I get up one of the, that's the diamond you mentioned there a minute ago near San
Yeah.
Antonio.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Um,
they're lucky people, aren't they?
yeah, well, once it's clear, they'll be lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, but they get 2 chances at it, don't they?
Yeah. And I mean, how many have seen the total solar eclipse? Out of curiosity.
No,
Just
Yeah.
one.
Just
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
2,
just one. I want to see them
I've
all now.
seen,
10 from
Hmm.
Steve Iverson.
I think it's
Wow.
4 I've seen.
Two, no,
2.
two, yeah.
One annular and one total.
Yeah, I haven't seen an annular. I think I've seen about 4 totals. But it would
Wow.
be good to see an annular.
that's pretty good.
And I think the best part about both eclipses I've seen, we're looking at them with my eyes and forgetting about the equipment I had with me. Because
Yeah.
it's impossible to
Yes.
reproduce what
Yeah.
you see with the
The
camera.
second one.
That is
Yeah.
exactly true.
it's
yeah, the
extremely
second
difficult.
one I
Yeah.
did, I just set it up, left the kit,
Yeah.
and just watched it. And I did
Even
That's
the
what
best
I
photo,
did.
the best photos you've ever seen of the eclipse don't even come close to the way.
No,
No,
it
that's
looks.
because there seems to be like a sparkle, you know, like the red like prominences and around, you know, like the
Yeah.
it seems to be like a really intense, like ruby, like jewelly sparkle, and that just doesn't come up
No.
on a photograph at all. That sparkle.
The wildlife reaction to it getting darker in the middle of the day is what really stands
Yeah.
out to me
Yep.
from
Yeah.
the one we saw in
There's
2017.
no way to reproduce it. Yeah.
No, it's unbelievable.
And the temperature change, I think it's
The
Yeah, that
wind,
too.
the wind kicking up, you know.
The wind picking up, yeah.
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 If anybody wants
get
solar
them-
glasses to take with them, I'm happy to send them to you. So
It,
And if
yeah,
you get
to me, it
the
was just that
validation-
black hole in the middle of the sky.
that's also pretty awesome.
That was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
and
And
if you
I
get the
distinctly
elevation,
remember I had
and you
about
can
3,000
shadow
people
point.
standing around me at the 2017 eclipse at an event we were doing in Georgia. And I distinctly remember the silence that fell over everyone
Yeah.
when it actually hit totality. People, it was silent for about 8 to 10 seconds. And
Then
then
it
you heard
cheered.
this small mumbling,
Mm.
this mumbling, a lot of, that came off and it grew into just a
Yeah.
really loud
Yeah.
cheer. It was really the coolest thing to watch, but none of that could be fixed with the camera. I mean, it's cool to have a picture of it, but it's like taking a picture of the sunset. It's impossible to make it look like the sunset.
So where
Nice.
are you going, Stephen, then for the 2024 one? You're just going
Marblehead, Ohio,
all right.
to the shore of Lake Erie, where my father's leftover family lives.
Mhm.
That's my plan now. But if you want to make some different plans and you want to go up to Maine,
Well, I do want to go, but
let's
I don't
go.
want to go and go on my own.
Bring the hubby.
I want to go somewhere where I can meet up with all my friends, because that was something that I really enjoyed about the 2017 eclipse.
Yeah.
Is that, we went as a group, and it's something that I remember for the rest of my life. It was just absolutely fantastic, to share it with other people. They say, oh, you shouldn't go with other people because then they restrict you and you can't move around and everything like that. But to be honest, I don't really care about whether we see it or we don't see it, but to be together with everybody else, just seeing clouds, it was just such a, like a phenomenal moment. But so that's why I'm like looking for, like people, where people are going, and, with anybody's, who's at a place that's decent.
The biggest question is where's best to have the best chance of seeing it, in terms of the
Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico
Yeah, I'm
or
not going to
Texas.
Mexico.
Or Texas. Ohio's going to be iffy.
Everybody says that every time, man, and nobody's
Yeah,
ever
I know.
right.
I'm going to be in
No
Ohio.
one's ever right.
I won't be far from you, Steve.
Good. Well, maybe we can post where everyone's going and a little bit ahead of time so people can make plans to I wouldn't go with a tour group. I can see what people are saying about that, but it would be a lot of fun to go with 6 or 8 of your friends that
Yeah.
So that's what I did in 2017. There was a group of us that went, and I was the one geeking out the most about it. So everybody was like all behind me, like, all right, what do you want to do? How do we make this work? And we were watching the weather and where to set up.
Yeah.
It pulls everybody together to try and check this thing down.
Yeah, it's fun.
What about you, Brian? Brian, where are you going?
Well, I haven't got definite plans yet, but a friend of mine that we do a lot of astronomy with, and we went to the 2017 eclipse in Nebraska. We're kind of kicking the tires on going to Texas. But we haven't had time to really sort out exactly what we're doing. I could literally drive 2 hours from where I live and be in the path of totality on one of the islands off in Lake Ontario, but
Right.
it's the same high probability, significantly greater risk of cloud cover than even the not stupendous risk of clear probability of clear skies in the southwest. But it is what it is.
Because
You
you
drive.
are not too far, you know? I mean, we're a
No.
few hours away.
I mean,
It looks like Cleveland, Ohio, looks pretty much the same as Dallas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much. And that
That's
must be
near where I'll
mountain
be.
range, is it there?
Yeah.
it'll just be warmer in Dallas.
Yeah.
But like
maybe it won't.
it doesn't matter what you do. It's a crapshoot because like
Yeah.
this other friend of mine, he's been to about 6 eclipses, and he went to a couple where they flew to Antigua. I forget which island it was in the Caribbean back in the mid 80s, and the weather forecast was for cloud at the resort they were staying at. So they all piled on buses and they drove them out onto the mountain, way out away from the resort. They all got clouded out, and the
Right.
people
And the
that
resort was clear.
stayed back at the
They're
resort
fine.
had clear skies.
Yeah,
So-
and it is potluck. I know of someone who was at the one in Hawaii. I'm not sure what year that was, and on a tour he got quite sick and had to stay at the hotel. Everybody else got on the bus and went up to the top of near Mauna Kea, is it? And as the atmosphere cooled, the cloud rose up. Is that the way it goes? So everyone on top of the mountain got clouded out.
Right.
He saw it from his sick bed out to the window. So it just goes to show.
My brother was on that one and he was on the mountain.
All right, yeah. And
He
I've heard
missed it.
stories of people slamming their cameras into the ground, and I mean, it's safe for a lifetime to go to this eclipse, and then you get clouded. You know, I was in the one in China, and there's with a tour, and I just felt a bit more restricted. It made sense, I think, in that sort of country and environment that, regulation and language and culture and everything to be with the group. But you mentioned there, Alexandra, about you don't care too much if it's cloudy or not. Well, I was under 6 minutes of rain lashing down on me after going all the way. So, I mean, look, we had a fantastic time in China, got to see the place, but it was disappointing, I have to say. I was trying to keep my spirits up as much as possible, but when you've gone that far, it's disappointing.
Well, we have I'm sorry.
Go on,
We
keep
have
going.
a couple of new guests. I think Bill Caldwell probably thought it was at 2 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. with the time change. And Michael. Hello, Michael Spengler. You're
Welcome.
muted. You are muted. There you go.
Yes, just
Hey,
want to
how
say,
are you?
yeah, Michael from Reno, one of the new people on the.
We're glad to have you. We actually started about an hour and 10 minutes ago. But we're glad that you tuned in, man. We went over such really super important stuff that you'll never see anywhere else on earth, and you just missed it all. So, I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. we're just getting together and talking about a few things. But thanks for coming in, man. We appreciate it. What's your name on the forum?
Just my name that I have right here.
Very good. And are you new to solar astronomy or?
No, not actually. I just been doing I have a 2 scopes in my backyard. I have a Stellar View 152 and a Coronado 90 double stack. And this will make some of you jealous out there, but I live in Nevada, which is some of the clearest, and sunniest skies. So I feel real bad, especially you people over in Great Britain and whatnot that keep saying it's cloudy, it's cloudy, it's cloudy. I had a session here probably for the last 3 months where I only had about 3 days I couldn't observe. So
Tough life. Tough
just
life.
when I get up in the morning, have my breakfast, go out and observe, see what's going on. I do that every day, and I missed probably 3 days or so due to the weather. But now we have a little bit of cloudiness last week.
All right. Well, we've got imagers from all over the world on our forum, and some of them are with us, some of the best imagers in the world. So anyway, we're glad that you checked in.
Thanks.
Alexandra.
Hello, all.
Gotta
Hello.
head out somewhere else. So it's good seeing everybody.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, John.
See you later.
Yeah,
I guess
sure.
that's it for this month then. And well, it's the second Sunday of every month. Alexander, is that right?
That's correct. And then it's like 1800 universal time. So you have to
Okay.
check that out.
And
from
that's
when-
1 p.m. Eastern time now, because we just had our time change. Bill, thank you for your important contributions to this month's meeting. We appreciate you.
10 a.m. instead of 11. Okay, we'll get it together eventually.
Well, we look forward to seeing everybody on the forum, and thank you for attending this month.
Thank
And
you, guys.
adios,
Thank
amigos.
you.
Everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye and
Bye.
bye all.
Bye.